very much indeed for your time. It is a very significant day, not only here in South Africa, but around the world. How does the Commonwealth of Nations view Nelson Mandela?
Well, we celebrate him because I think he is the embodiment of what the Commonwealth of Nations aspires to be. If you think about the way in which he championed the rule of law, democracy, but also reconciliation and parity of treatment for every single person, irrespective of their race, their religion, their ethnicity, or their sexual orientation. I think for many of us, he's not just the icon because of what he went through, but he's also the aspiration of what we would like to be.
From his presidency till retirement, what was his relationship with the Commonwealth family?
Well, it was a very close relationship because if you think about it, many of the leaders in the Commonwealth had his picture on their wall. Certainly we know that both the Conservative leader, David Cameron, and his predecessor in title, Tony Blair, both had one thing in common, and that's they both had Nelson Mandela on their wall.
Yeah.
And why? Because he is the aspiration that many leaders hope to copy. The way in which he steadfastly held to his principles, but helped us to hope to be more than that we are.
Yeah.
And I know that from a very early age, he was certainly a real inspiration to me. I was a small, young black girl living in the East End of London, and I saw him as the figurehead who was saying that all black people could be free, and all black people could achieve, and we were more than the sum of our parts. And I remember when I was a very young girl, when I saw things happening in Soweto, I said to my father, "Daddy, look at what is happening, and these children look just like me, just like me." And when he said to me, I was right, I felt so proud that my father was telling me that I had got it right, and I was only 6. And then he said to me, "So what are you going to do about it?"
And, you know, we've heard a lot from the likes of former President Barack Obama, US President Barack Obama, Professor Patrick Lumumba, talking about how his legacy and his life still holds sway around the world, isn't it?
Absolutely.
The Commonwealth of Nations is home to 2.6 or 2.4 billion citizens.
Yeah, absolutely.
And 60% of this is under the age of 30, isn't it?
Yes, exactly.
So we're dealing with a lot of youth. Over the years, how's the Commonwealth, how's the association changed their way or changed their approach in terms of tackling youth issues?
Well, we have for 45 years in the Commonwealth Secretariat had youth as one of our primary issues. They are our future. Unless we are able to give them hope, aspiration and skills, then they will never achieve that which they wish to achieve. And we have created a very intense program when the heads of government met, and President Ramaphosa was there, as well as Foreign Minister Lindiwe Sisulu in London in April. The heads identified youth as an incredibly important issue and one we have to all work together on. And so we have done a lot, and if readers and viewers would like to go on our website, it's called thecommonwealth.org. You will see all the things we're doing towards a common future, a more prosperous future, a fairer future, a safer future. All these issues were raised in April by the heads of government, and youth were right at the center. And here in South Africa, I have come to have a conference to talk about how we improve the entrepreneurial opportunities for our young people. Because we know in sub-Saharan Africa the importance of galvanizing that young population. If we fail to do that, our future is going to be very bleak. So we came together with other agencies, with the UN agencies, with the British Council, with a number of others, independent agencies, to say, what are we now going to do? The Commonwealth, in partnership with all our sub-Saharan African colleagues and other international agencies to make that difference, and we're doing it.
And through your travels, are you finding that there's appetite for that from the youth?
Huge, huge, because we know that they are our future. They are the innovators. The world that they are living in is so different from the world that we had. We have to engage them. We have to talk with them. And we have to listen to what they have to say. And in listening, in working together, I believe we have huge opportunity. If you look at what's happening here in Africa now, with the creation of the continental free trade area, these are going to be hugely important days. But unless we galvanize our young people, it's not going to be the future we would like them to have, and it's not going to be the future I know that Nelson Mandela dreamed of for our whole world. And the Commonwealth is here, working together, creating the tools. We've looked at the implementation toolkits that we need, not just for young people, but how do we make ourselves more prosperous? How do we make ourselves fairer? How do we make sure that our democracies are as robust as we need them to be? And how do we deal with things like corruption? We are in the Commonwealth looking at that issue. We've helped a number of our countries, but we're now building a toolkit to enable us to challenge those who are corrupt in a way that will make a difference, interdict it. Because if you look at the money we need to develop and deliver the Sustainable Development Goals and the money we have, and this is globally, the difference between those two figures are the difference of the money which is siphoned off by corruption. So if we interdict corruption, we will be able to give our governments the sort of resources they need in order to meet the Sustainable Development Goals. And all of that is doable if we work together.
Plugging corruption notwithstanding, talking about youth and getting them involved, practically what can we do? Because we know, I mean, youth around the world are impatient. They want things now. What can we do practically in order to get this done?
Well, I think one of the things we can do is to look at the way in which we are educating. Because if you look at the skill sets we need, our young people need to meet a 21st century, it's very different from that which we need to do work for yesteryear. We're looking at creating small and medium-sized businesses and helping them to deliver that. We've created an SME, small and medium-sized enterprise network. It was launched in India, but it's also been launched in the Pacific, and in November we're going to launch a network here for Africa in Kenya. All of them are going to be included, but we're looking at what we can do to make sure that the assets are there. We've created an innovation hub. If you go onto our website, under the innovation hub, we are highlighting young people who are extraordinary and doing great things, and we are in partnership with the Global Innovation Fund. We've created the Commonwealth Innovation Fund, where we hope to raise £25 million for young innovators who have great ideas. So we'll have seed corn money. But we're looking at sport. How do we make sure that sport is one of the issues which is able to bring people forward? We've created something called faith in the Commonwealth, which is, we do have faith that the 6 regions coming together, we have all races, all colours, rich countries, poor countries, that when the third of the world comes together, we can do something. And the faith is all the different faiths, melding them so that they can understand that we have more in common than we have apart. And that is a message that we need our young people to do. But we need to give them tools to put in their hands, to educate them, to skill them, so they can take advantage of it. So if you go onto our website, which you can download and make into an app, you will see that there's 1,000 different things, but they're all concrete. This is not just talk. We now have to do. And what we were talking about here in South Africa, when we pooled to talk about and bring people together, we were emphasizing now what is the action that we need to take. And we're coming up with an action plan to implement the things that young people are telling us they need.
Does this all fall part of the organization's process of trying to reposition itself? How does the organization do that?
Well, we have listened to the 53 leaders in the last 2 years, and we've listened to find out, what do people want? What are their dreams, their aspirations? And what the 53 countries agreed on is, they said, we need to be more prosperous. And we know that there is a 19% advantage in Commonwealth countries because we have the same language, we have the same common law, we have the same parliamentary system and institutions. That means it's 19% cheaper, easier and faster. So we are looking at how do we come together to become more prosperous? How do we pool our innovation? Therefore, we created the Innovation Hub. But how do we strengthen our democracies? So we created an Office of Civil and Criminal Justice Reform, which will pull all the laws so that any of our countries can come together. Then we looked at climate change. Climate change poses an existential threat to so many of us. Look and see what happened in the Cape just this last year with the drought and the lack of water. If you look at what's happened in the last year that's just gone, we had mudslides in Sierra Leone. We had desertification throughout Africa. We then had floods in Asia, hurricanes in the Caribbean, and cyclones in the Pacific. So all of us are in together. So we are now looking at how we can create a more regenerative method of development, and we created a blue charter, a Commonwealth Blue Charter, in order to look after our oceans. These are all practical. So what we have done is listen about prosperity, listen about women, because we have to engage our women more forcefully to enable them to give what they can give, our youth, and the opportunities we have to strengthen our democracies by coming together and sharing not just the things we're good at, but we need to share our failures too, because all of us are struggling to do the same thing.
What about politics in Africa? Let's look at our neighbor Zimbabwe. What is the current status or the relationship with the Commonwealth? And they're having an election soon, July 30th. Do you plan to send observers?
Well, we do, because Zimbabwe has invited us to do so on the basis that they have indicated that they would like to rejoin the Commonwealth. And one of the first steps for rejoining the Commonwealth is for us, me, as Secretary General, to make an informal assessment of whether they are able to meet the values that are contained in the Commonwealth Charter. And part of that is going to involve us going to Zimbabwe and observing how they manage this election, because electoral freedom and participation in electoral processes are the fundamental part of having a real democracy. So we will be sending an observer mission. That observer mission is going to be headed by former President of Ghana, Mr. Mahama, and he is going to lead a very well-resourced and seasoned team who will be able to go to Zimbabwe and observe, and then come back and give us a report so we know how well things are going.
Baroness, thank you very much indeed for your time. Great insight. Thank you very much. That was Baroness Patricia Scotland. She is the Commonwealth Secretary General.